Hey guys, welcome to another episode of All Bass Creations, Effects, Tutorials, Demos, and Review. Hold on, let me get this mic straight here for y'all. Hope y'all having a great day so far. Hope y'all enjoying your day. I know I'm enjoying mine. So, hopefully, you've been hear that pretty well. We got the Future Impact V4 VIP up today. And what we're going to be doing is actually recreating Michael Jackson's Thriller bass, right? So give me 1 second and we'll take a quick listen to it. All right, let me get this closed. That's good. If you haven't already, hit that like button as y'all coming on in here. I definitely appreciate you. Trying to wait for just a couple more folks to stop through. So somebody let me know if everything's running up smooth, all that good stuff. Let me know if you can see what I'm doing on the screen. You should be able to see the Future Impact editor, and you should be able to see the mouse as well. So somebody chime in and let me know. So, all right, I think that's good. It's enough folks in the house. Appreciate all y'all chiming in, hanging out with me, of course. So let's go and get started here. We're going to start with a fresh patch in the Future Impact editor. So this particular sound, all we don't use any of the drive bass, so we're going to take that out. And then we're going to add. We're going to bring up these VCF Lin and VCF log. About 90s, fine. Awesome, I appreciate that. Thank you. Feel free to chime in when y'all got questions and stuff. I hope y'all can see that. This is where we're gonna start. we're gonna build it up from there. So we need a sawtooth wave starting out. And we're gonna put that about. The thing about the Future Impact, you can go into fold over distortion, so you got to watch your oscillator levels. Otherwise, it will pretty much go into fold over distortion, so you don't really need that for this. So, and then we're gonna see what we got. So that's where we're starting with the sound. Doesn't really get you quite there just yet. So we'll take that. We'll have that into the filter, right? But we'll also need a square wave in there. So we're gonna bring in the square wave. Bring that in about the same amount. All right, so now we're starting to get some volume here. Doesn't really sound the greatest at the moment. You know, this is where a lot of people mess up because they'll get to this point and they don't really know what to do. See, something like this, you also want to bring up this offset here. Matter of fact, I'm going to bring this down just slightly. Appreciate y'all chiming in over on Kick and Twitch as well. And good morning to everybody, by the way. You just joining. All right, so we starting about right there. Then we'll go a little more with the LFO. Mind you, we need to bring this down. So we'll go to this VCO, and this will control the overall pitch of these oscillators here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Bring it down into the bass territory. So now we're getting some action. So we're gonna put this offset about 65, put this about 70, and the depth about 50. So far, that's what we got. And we're going to link these two. So from there, we'll start working with the filter now. We're going to go over here to, this is the filter input. So you can decide if you want your regular instrument in here. You can bring down the synth there. You want your dry signal to run through the filter and all that good stuff. But we're not going to get into that because we don't need that. So we're going to go with all synth here. So far what we have a saw wave on the bottom. A saw wave and a square wave, both running the same octave, just down, overall transposed down an octave. So we get a nice deep bass sound. Now we'll come over to the filter. We'll leave it on the 24 dB slope, which is, like that Moog style filter. So we'll bring this down to something like 37. Yeah. If you don't have on good headphones, you might not be able to even hear that. But we'll open it up a bit with some resonance. Put the resonance around 22. And we'll let this be modulated by the filter. By the VCF. Come over here, 65. Make sure y'all hit that like button for me. And mind you, my preset pack for the Future Impact is already available on the Patreon. So if you have a Future Impact and you want some more of my bass sounds, my more original sounds, all that's on the Patreon, and there's a ton of them. As well as for all the other pedals, Enzo X, C4 Synth, the Zoom pedals, multi-stomps, B6, ToneX, all that stuff. But let's keep going. So we also need to shape this envelope a bit here. So we're going to shape the envelope of the filter. Not the filter, the actual oscillators real quick. So we want this to reset every time right here in this envelope mode. We want a fast attack, but just a little slower, slightly slower decay on that. So let's put that there. Put this little bit of sustain, like 52. See, now we're starting to get a little bit of click. We can open up this filter some here. Put this. We're gonna make this filter, this VCF match the VCA. So 70 and 52. All right, so now we're really starting to get somewhere with this. You know, it takes a bit of patience, you know, a little bit of experimenting, but luckily you got me. Because now you can, you know, you can just duplicate this actual setting here. And this is actually sponsored by one of the channel members, subscribers requested this. A few people asked I requested I do it again. But yeah, you know, I like to try to make sure y'all get some nice cool stuff. So 68. So what this LFO right here does is pretty much when I have it set like this, it pretty much acts like a vibrato. If I turn this up, this is pretty much the depth. So you see, I don't want that much, just a little bit. Now you can have it do the filter as well. You see, is there now it's messing with the filter. So VCF is the filter, the VCO is the oscillators. You know, that's you know. So we almost there now. You know what I'm saying? And just for a quick reference, let's slow down and take a quick listen to where we going, because we're almost there. That's all we need. So we almost there. Need a little bit more in there. Need some texture. Let's add. I like to have this overdrive on, even when I'm just for saturation purposes. See, it just adds a little bit of saturation. It don't do a whole lot, because I'm not driving it, but it just a little bit, right? EQ this thing. Probably boost around 100, a little bit. Drop it around 5, a little bit. So, you know, that's pretty much the sound there. That's literally the sound. Let me see. Let me load up. Compare that to actual patch I created. See how that feel. So that definitely puts you right there in that territory, you know what I'm saying? That gets you right there. Let me see if I can go back just a bit with the track. A little more. we can smoothen that out. So yeah, we right there. You know what I'm saying? That's literally, I mean, it's pretty much harder to get any closer to that without actually having an actual what I think it was an ARP 2600 this was made on, I believe. You know, but you talking about a pedal that costs 350, 400. Yep, so we there. Didn't take long at all. And I would even bring this up to 15. Back that up. And the cool thing about it is you can always come over here to the filter and just make adjustments with the filter, and you get completely different synths from there. So you can start there. You know, that's your basic Thriller style synth. You can't tell me that ain't spot on. So, you know, just that much, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't take a lot with the Future Impact to get what you need, you know, especially with something like a 2 oscillator synth. It doesn't take, you know, a whole lot. And even things like, say you wanted to, you can change the filter, open it up. And all this can be done on the pedal. You can change this on the pedal, the filter options. So, you know, you can go from that to pitch follow. Add more resonance. Band pass. You can add the accent. What's going on? Appreciate you stopping by as usual. One of the usual suspects. So just changing very little slight, little slight things like that are going to, you know, alter the filter, and which ultimately alters the sound the most. Changing these filter options is going to give you a lot of, you know, things to work with. Plus, you can always come down here, add chorus or delay if you want to, or add overdrive, you know, different type of EQ curve there. You can also come up here and you can bring this up an octave. You got plenty of options, yo. with this joint, and that's what makes it cool. Even changing things like the one and the sync, the pitch sync here. You can leave this one down an octave and bring this up an octave. Even though I typically like it the other way around. I like to have this first oscillator be the bottom pitch, personally. You can also add some detune here. Just the pitches. And that's really cool. And both of these to do that, they just do it in a slightly different way, both of these. So one of the biggest things about the Future Impact, it does take some knowledge of how to work synths. Like, hold up, why is this up? I do have a little bit of that square wave on that first oscillator. Let me see, go back. Oh, that joint's just fire. I mean, what's going on, folks? Appreciate the usual suspects stopping by. Yeah, definitely get you a Future Impact, you know. Even if you're going to use it for synth-based stuff with an actual keyboard, it's already like integrated into your bass rig, so you don't have to add anything else. It's already there, you know what I'm saying? So that makes your life a lot easier. Yeah, so the main thing, like I said, with creating synths, so we'll just start over. Well, let me do something else real quick because I created a few of the synths actually, but that's the bass synth. So there's another one. And I have it like it's like a sweeping one. Let me see if I can get it on. Yeah, and then that happens like towards the bridge. And then there's the lead one. So, you know, you can get some nasty. That's the lead synth part there. I saved one so I can experiment with stuff. See what else I got on here. And even you know, got Man in the Mirror as well. So, you know, you can pretty much get any of those vintage type bass sounds with this unit. That's what I can honestly say about it. But just so you start to get a grasp on what's happening when you're learning or creating a synth. Let's go into that a little bit. See what we got here, right? Make sure y'all hitting that like button. So one thing I do love about the Future Impact is it's not just an synth pedal. It's like a multi-effects unit for bass and stuff. So you can do cool things like get your octave down and, get like that Cynthia octave down that we like on different bass synth pedals. Let's hear a little bit of that. And this is very simple. Just a square wave, an octave down. Right, start there. Bring this filter down. Give it a little bit of resonance. You play around, try the 12 dB filter. I actually like that better for this. That's like instantly a OC2 type of sound, you know? Excuse me. And if I want to, I don't want the filter to open up or do anything, I can just leave this like this for the filter. And pretty much it's just just makes a stagnant cutoff point, so it just doesn't modulate or open or close. People sleeping on the Future Impact. You take that and you just add a little bit of the overdrive. This is a tube style overdrive, by the way. And that's why I'm just using it for saturation a lot of the times. But, come down here. We're going to add some body to that. So that's just your basic octave down sound right there. You know what I'm saying? Like most of the octave pedals. I'm going to say that because I actually like that a lot. Save. And let's see. I'm trying to remember which slots I got open, man. It'd be hard to remember all these slots because I got so many presets here. I'm just gonna put it at let's say 83. Got a lot of something. Make sure you check out this pack on the Patreon, yo. Don't leave me hanging now. Put that at OC2. Bam. Come on now. Like, tell me that's not a great octave down sound. Like, that's actually. Let me see. I got an OC5 right here. Let me check. We just want octave down. so that's the actual OC2 mode on the OC5. I actually like the Future Impact ones more. It's gonna cut more. It don't sound like so hollow. Which one give you? Yeah, y'all let me know in the comments which one you think is giving you more of that. That like, I know that's the company that made the O. This is giving me a really nice like. And then you also, in addition to that, you also have an actual octave down you can run, like an actual octave down in here. Let me see, where is it? I think we got to take this slider here, take this slider. There we go. But I think we would. Well, I'm not getting no volume on that. Is that because of the filter? Trying to figure out why this joint is so quiet. This is part of the game too, folks. I'm just trying to figure out why this joint is going so quiet on me. But if I need to boost it up somewhere, I know I can. But I want to get this. I don't even want it to respond to the filter. Oh. Just turn the filter off. Launching. So this one's a little bit more based on the EQ of your actual bass. So we'll take this octave out. Leave that in there. Oh, if you want to get to the MIDI out, you just press external. You can turn the MIDI out on and play other synths with it as well. Just in case you were wondering where the MIDI out setting was, you got to press external. MIDI out, then you control the channels that you're using, the octave, and everything else. So you got that type of octaver in there as well. So not only that, the crazy part is you get all these sounds out of this one unit. Like this is just straight up octaver. See, that's more like a hog style octave, you know what I'm saying, there, versus this one. Oh, don't want that like that. In fact, go back and forth. Yeah. So we actually had to bring this one down. Yeah, that's loud. So it's just like two different styles of octave there. But Johnny's fire. Got an octave up as well. Which you can choose if you wanted to run through the filter or not. Let me see if this actually makes a difference. You can do harmony, bring in these other parts. And adjustable harmony too. Bring that filter down. Bring that resonance out of there. You want that octave up, octave down. Gonna have the original sound in there. And those of you just joining, please make sure you hit that like button. But, you know, I already did the Michael Jackson Thriller sound, so you could just rewind the video. Now I'm just kind of exploring, showing how to get to some other different type of effects and sounds with the Future Impact, just because we got some time. You know, that took like less than 15 minutes to do, you know what I'm saying? But I definitely appreciate all y'all hanging out with me on the different platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Kick, everybody. You know, I appreciate all of you guys. And special shout out to the Patreon crew. You know what I'm saying? Y'all definitely help out a lot, and I definitely appreciate all of you guys supporting the channel. It keeps the channel growing and keeps it going, and allows me to have time to do things like this. So, you know, of course, when you're getting a little bit of support, it's a little easier to make some time. You know what I'm saying? But thank y'all for stopping by in general, you know. But yeah, so Thank you. I appreciate the sub. Appreciate the sub. So, right here, you can choose to bypass this filter or make it a different type of filter. Say you wanted high pass filter, band pass, high pass. Yeah, it's not polyphonic, but yeah, you can do some crazy. You can get some crazy stuff, whether it be synth stuff or actual octave harmonizer effects. Let's go back to let's turn this filter off. You don't want to know. Right. So now I want to do. Let's try to get some. So, yeah, you can take something like that and mix it if you wanted to. So, say we don't need this octave down here. Right, so we're going to take this octave down out. Yeah, we're going to bring back the distortion, but we're going to bring down the tone. We're going to bring this filter back on because we're going to need that. That synth bass is strong. Definitely get some nice unison line stuff out of there. And bring these sliders down. So, you got just options on options over here, this thing. You still got things like the noise you can add in. this envelope a little bit. So you can just create tons and tons of sounds with this thing. And that's not, I know I keep saying that, but it's just amazing the amount of sounds you can do. You can do the um opposite of this filter here. So let's see. Let's create a shape. Just all types of ridiculous sounds. Like, so I don't want this noise on anymore. And so if you want to have the filter do that sweeping instead, just do it there. If I want that sustain on the filter to open it, it'll stay open a little bit more. So you could just ridiculous. You're starting to get into that 808 territory. That joint just rings too. That's mad. That's ridiculous. come over here. You can add a nice little octave up to that. Let's try a triangle wave. I'll check them out. The Y-DNA amplifier. Yeah, I'll check it out. I'll check them out. You know, anybody, any manufacturers and stuff, because sometimes different manufacturers, different people stop past the channel here. Feel free to, if you want me to check stuff out, feel free. We still growing. We still getting it in. So we'll work with you. Oh, that's just dirty. I mean, let's add another oscillator just for the fun of it. Let's put one up 2 octaves, a square, and we'll make it like a pulse wave. There we go. Chorus to that. Let's see. This chorus is a bit tricky to work, but I'm gonna try to. It's just because it got so many extra little parameters. I think like the trick with these longer synth sounds like that, I got to start saving. I'm lunching. Put it on 82. I don't even know what to call this joint. Sound like a Super Mario, just say Mario synth. It's hard to keep coming up with names, guys. I should be, I think it's this one. And then I need a little bit of these. And let's bring up this level. Because I don't have the mod one up. Yeah, there we go. like its own thing right there. I don't know why I like that so much. Let me see something. I need more. Might bring this down. I like that. What just happened? There we go. How this one not gonna respond? What is the problem? Ain't no way. What is the problem? I hate that. I'm not even sure what just happened. Yeah, that's what it was. You gotta have the level up. Oh, okay. That joint is just at the end of that joint, just like it's just giving you just work. There we go. Might even add some delay onto that. Yeah, I'm cool with that. So yeah, basically, a lot of the synth stuff is just understanding what you're doing. So it starts with these oscillators here. Well, actually, it starts with this VCO comes in here, and this determines if it's going to take what you're playing as an octave down, or or whatever, or exactly what it is, or octave up, or whatever, semitone you decide here. So for bass stuff, I like to just start with this VCO or octave down, then start with the first one. This first VCO I like to be my sub octave for the most part, lowest part. Then I have this second one linked to this one, just because it usually produces a smoother sound. Now you can also mix these waveforms. So if I wanted some saw, like some saw and some triangle on this, I could on the same oscillator. And that would make a huge difference as well. So you got that, and then you got, having these linked together definitely produces slightly different results. I feel like it's a little more focused. And then with I still got a whole nother oscillator I could come down here and add stuff on. So the real genius in the future impact is that, yes, it's giving you a lot of options here, and it looks like really complicated, but it's really just these VCO. If you I just follow this path, VCO into the so let's start over. So coming into the VCO here, then coming in from the VCO goes over to these oscillators here. So we're just going to focus on one oscillator, so VCO 1. So into the VCF input, which is synth for these oscillators. If you want your dry instrument, you can put it in there. You want your distorted instrument, the harmony block, all that's going to be here. If you want the harmony block, but you want it to have the opposite attack and release of this VCA, you can use this slider, but that's for a different feature, synth and then noise, right? You got the filters here. You can change, you want 12, all that stuff. Filter cutoff, band pass. This if you want to do it like a twin filter like the baseballs. Then you have the resonance knob that's just going to determine, how peaky and sharp the peak is, And then you got these envelope follow, ASDR, accent, pitch follow. These are all in relation to the filter and how it's responding to what you're playing. Then you can shape that filter, whether it opens quickly with the attack, once it opens, how quickly does it come down to the frequency here on set with the sustain. So then if you got release on your original VCA here, you can add some release here to the filter so it doesn't just close and just have this in that sub octave when we're doing like that 808 type sound. Then from here you got the LFO. LFO, you can set the frequency. When the delay is just when it comes in. So like if I wanted it to be a straight note and then go into vibrato, I would change this delay like that, and then you'll have a VCO make with it oscillating the VCO up and down, it becomes a vibrato type effect. If I wanted to kick in immediately, but if I want some time between when I play the note, now it kicks in. And you can do the same thing with the filter. See, now it's the LFO is modulating the filter now. So from here, it's just the overdrive, EQ, chorus, delay, and you got your main mixer here where if you want your dry signal to come through. and that is your dry signal with nothing on it, right? So if you want that to come through, you can get it through there. Otherwise, this slider for instrument will go through the filter. So that's the difference between this instrument slider and this one. This one's going to give you your dry signal. This one's going to give you your dry signal running through the filter. This slider is going to give you your, or allows your dry signal to also run through the distortion and the harmony block, and on from there, and then go to the filter. So it's a really ingenious design. Like, you even got a keyboard down here. You can just be creating sounds even without your bass. See, even when I play with the keyboard, it sounds the same. You even get smoother slides on the bass. Oh, you just get some ridiculous sounds with this thing, man. I mean, you pretty much getting you're pretty much getting a bunch of vintage synths in one, and you're getting capabilities that you couldn't get with a lot of vintage synths before, like, having 1, 2, 3 different waveforms on one oscillator that you can use. And what happens there is when you mix them, it gives it different characteristics that's different than your standard saw or pulse, square wave, or triangle. It's gonna like have different. They're gonna interrupt each other in weird ways, and a lot of time very musical ways. You know what I'm saying? So that's another option, besides just running each oscillator saw, square, and triangle, individually. Each of these 4, you can run up to 3 oscillators on each one, 3 waveforms on each one. That's way more flexibility than anybody else is giving on this stuff, But you got this is why it's like perfect for your vintage bass stuff, because it's the same thing. Oscillator to the filter, you know what I'm saying, on out. That's pretty much the majority of it. The rest of it is all seasoning. Overdrive, EQ, chorus, delay, that's all seasoning. Main mixer is just going to determine your overall output value. So if you find this patch is really hot, you can bring it down here without changing anything else, because if you start changing things like the VCF input, it's going to change the sound. Or if you start changing the levels of the oscillators, that's going to change the sound. The VCF Lin and VCF log controls, and you need to use both of them, you know what I'm saying, will be your best shot. So I hope this has been useful. Y'all let me know if there's something y'all like diving into, learning how to create these with synths, because I'm gonna do one of these with the Enzo X as well, just so I can show you guys visually how I create patches on the Enzo X as well. And I may do it with the C4 synth at some point as well, just because it's a lot of stuff in the C4 synth that people don't really talk about. But and I do have all these preset packs. Say you don't want to fool with all this. You know what I'm saying? Say you don't want to fool with having to sit here experimenting for hours, because it definitely took me hours and hours to create the preset packs. Just go to the Patreon and you can download them real quick and throw them straight onto your pedal, just like I was doing here. You know what I'm saying? Load, you know what I'm saying? But you would use the editor. Might as well show y'all this while we here. You just use the editor, and then you could bring in patches. This is the actual um, where you would import your files and do all that stuff and rearrange them and everything. So it gives you a lot of options. You know, and those are all the patches and stuff so far. So, all right. But I do find that this, I was a little confused when I first looked at it because I was like, all right, this seems intimidating. But when you just slow it down, just find the one oscillator path to things, it becomes a lot easier, and then you start to figure out things as you go along the way, which definitely helps. And you get one other thing that's not really talked about too much with the C4 synth. If you got a whole MIDI setup like I do, where I use a MIDI Captain and a CME H2 MIDI Pro, that's actually what I'm like using MIDI to edit stuff now. You can add an expression pedal and things like that, or controllers, and use these flexi controls up here to assign these to different faders, sliders or whatever, and you can have it just going crazy. You know what I'm saying? And don't forget, like when you having these different patches, you can add portamento time, which is only available when you're playing with a keyboard. But with bass, you can just slide, like you heard there. You can hear it's actually a very smooth slide. But yeah, you can assign all these to different things, pitch bend, or if you want the LFO to come in on a mod wheel of a keyboard, you can do all that right here. So I thought that was real nice, and they even give you the MIDI controls for everything, so you can see what you're doing and need to put it on, rada. Just things people not really, hip to. But so the Future Impact, great pedal. Can't recommend it enough. Just so we can wrap this thing up nice and tight, let's go over to. Let's go back up to the Thriller stuff. And one more time, let's see if we can pull this up one more time. Just a little bit before that. Okay, so you get the point. Good old Thriller. So, and that same bass also works for PYT as well, And like I said, you can just, when you have it on the pedal, say you on the fly, I know a lot of people worry about, well, what am I going to do if I'm out and I'm on the fly with the pedal, right? Well, why are you trying to create and edit synth sounds on a gig? That doesn't make sense. That's how you get fired. You get fired fiddling around with your gear instead of having it locked in before you get there and having enough variations or different things that you need where you don't run into that trouble. But fiddling around with pedals when you should be laying down the bottom and getting funky will get you fired every single time. So it's good that this pedal is primarily depends on you having it pre-set up, because you shouldn't be fooling around with that stuff on stage like that, especially on other people's gigs. On my gigs, I fiddle with my pedals because I might be creating a pad and I want the pad to do a certain thing, so I bend down and do it. But darn, most bass shows, I'm not fixing to do all that. One, because it looks bad. And nobody wants to hear you fiddling, they want to hear you playing. So the Future Impact is very good in the way of it gives you a ton of the filter options and makes it very flexible on the fly, because the filter, changing those filter options, as you guys saw, can change everything. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to fool with the VCA. You don't need to fool with the oscillators. Get to the synth that's right about what you want, change the filter, go from there. Start familiarizing yourself with what the filters settings do on the pedal. You know what I'm saying? And they actually gave you like really like layman terms type things. So like dynamics, if you want the filter to interact more with your dynamics, or respond more to your dynamics. If you want it to to adjust the attack or decay of the filter, or if you wanted to use the ADSR a little bit more, you got the cutoff, the resonance, you got a balance there between your wet and your synth signal. Got your level of your preset there, and then you got an effect. An effect is just whatever the last thing you put on there is gonna it'll edit certain things depending on. So if you have a EQ as the last thing, it's going to give you the ability to tilt the EQ towards the brighter side of things, or towards the the brighter side. I mean, a lower, darker, boomier side of things. You know what I'm saying? So it's pretty much a tilt EQ that feature there. But the overdrive, it would be adding drive and things like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like whatever the last effect in your chain is, that's the parameter. You know what I'm saying? That is going to affect. I mean, that's the effects parameters settings it's going to affect. But from there, I say, get you the right preset pack from patreon.com/allbasscreations for the Future Impact, and you ain't got to worry about all this. You know what I'm saying? Now, this MJ sound, Thriller sound, isn't in there. This is something that I created after the pack just for you guys. You know what I'm saying? So, and there is, like I said, there was a few requests, but there was. Let me see if I can find. I don't know if they want me to shout them out or not, but it was somebody that actually, where is it? That emailed me about this, and that actually, sponsored the video to a certain extent. So I just want to give them a shout out. Let me see if I can find them. Yeah, we just gonna call him JD, because that's what we got him. That's what I don't want to put his. I don't have his like screen name or anything. So JD, appreciate you. Holler at me when you get a chance, and I can send you over the files, stuff like that. And I'm also, if you happen to be watching, I'm also going to include the man in the mirror joint in when I send you over your files, just so you'll have that. And I'm going to include the other MJ synths too, just because you were awesome. And I appreciate you sponsoring the video. You know what I'm saying? Everybody want me to do stuff, but everybody won't sponsor a video. He actually sponsored the video. So appreciate you guys hanging with me. And I can't say it enough. Do not be afraid to experiment, especially with a pedal like this. There is no right or wrong sound per se, other than what you want it to be. it's up to you to make it musical with what you're playing and what you're composing. But get in there, experiment, you know what I'm saying? Like if you really just don't know where to go, you know what I'm saying? And even if you do, you still go to my patreon.com, you know what I'm saying? / all bass creations, because that's where you get all your preset packs and you can support the channel there. Thank you to everybody that's done it so far. A lot of you guys have bought preset packs and already signed up there for $1, $5 a month. You know what I'm saying? Thank you very much. You keep the channel growing. You keep the channel alive. You know what I'm saying? So thank you guys so much. But past that, that's all I'm going to do today. Well, not today, but for right now. I will actually be back a little bit later on, but I appreciate you guys hanging in there with me. Means the world to me that you guys have spent time with me as usual. But again, this has been another episode of All Bass Creations, Effects, Tutorials, Demos, and Review. I am the Bass Negus, Negus. Follow me on